Okay. So the first week we went through what kind of psychic ability you have. So that might be hearing, that might be sensing, that might be feeling, that could be just knowing, right? So you have to figure out which psychic ability, I'm going to call it intuitive ability because psychic sounds like, people with crystal balls and long fingernails.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I hate using that word because it just has this really bad, saying with it. So you're trying to discover what is in your compass or how is it directing you. I always get a feeling, just this like clear knowing of what the truth is. I don't know how to explain it. It just comes at me really heavily and I go, okay, that's my direction. Like when I found out I was pregnant, I was eating bread and I said, why am I eating a loaf of bread? Like who eats a loaf of bread? Right? I seriously, I don't. So I'm watching TV and all of a sudden I'm eating a loaf of bread. And I asked myself that question, like, why am I doing this? And I got the answer really quick. You're pregnant. Now, I was told for, 15 years that I couldn't have kids. So I sat up and I'm like, what do you mean I'm pregnant? You can't be pregnant. And I
Wow.
So it's that really good intuitive knowing that you have inside. And I also talked about how I met my husband who was walking on the side of the street. And like, if your intuition could yell at you, my intuition was yelling, pull over, pull over. So I said, hey, do you want to ride? And he jumped in my car. And the rest is history for 17 years.
I love that story.
That's a great story.
Yes. But if I ignored it, then I may have not have met him. So we have someone else jumping on. Let me just squeeze this down. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I just clicked off of all of you guys. Okay. So you're trying to figure out this, we always call it the compass. The compass is what's going to allow you to do psychic readings. It's going to allow you to figure out which direction to go in life, if you should take a job or if you shouldn't take a job. My intuition told me that I shouldn't let my children spend the night one night over my mom's house. And I was like, no, there's something up with this. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it, but they can't come over. And she's like, Amber, honey, it's going to be a fun time. We're going to have this. We're going to do this. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, Mom, something just isn't right. And the next day she got sick from, I don't want to say food poisoning, but she ate out at a restaurant and she was so sick. And I was like, see, I told you, it wasn't a good idea. Just listen to me. It's not so much, like we all have that inner knowing and that inner being within us. It's just tapping into it. So the things that prevent us from doing so is because, the social norms. You listen to your parents, you listen to your boss, you do as you're told. You don't step out of line. This is what's expected of you. So everybody has like really closed down their intuition because we're listening to what we should be doing instead of listening to ourselves. And when we tune up the volume of listening to ourselves, then we will be directed in many different ways of how to let go and just do things with our life. So when I was, 22, I think I was working for WebMD. I was executive assistant. I was making 70,000. I had nothing to do with my money. It's just me and my husband. So I'm like splurging it everywhere. I had an amazing corporate job. And then my intuition kicks in and says, you have to leave. Things are going to change. And I'm like, what? You want me to do what? So I went back into my psychic ways through a number of events that were happening because the universe kept pushing me and kept pushing me until I listened to my intuition and I started doing this kind of work. I actually did not want to do this work. I didn't sign up to do it. You know what I mean? Like my physical self didn't go, oh, I want to be a psychic. That's what I want to be when I grow up. It just wasn't on my agenda.
Yeah.
So there's events and my intuition was like, nope, this is the way it goes. Even when you are doing a job, when you are unhappy, if you're in a relationship that you're unhappy with, your intuition will get stronger and stronger and tell you, you have to leave, you have to make a decision until you do. That's what we normally do. We ignore it. well, it's going to go away. And maybe I can get through just another meeting. Maybe I can get through, one more week of this. But the more you ignore what you're supposed to be doing, your intuition actually yells at you in different ways. And it can show up on physical ways too, like in your body and things like that. So knowing what psychic skill, your intuitive skill that you all have one that you are really good at. Let's say you're in a conversation with somebody and you're a really good listener, then you want to work on your clairaudience. Your clairaudience will help you listen to that inner voice. So that is, it sounds like when I'm talking to dead people, which sounds fantastic, it sounds like this inner voice inside of me. It doesn't sound like on the outside of me. And I had to figure out what's mine and what's not mine. Same thing with your intuition, right? It kind of gets comboggled with all information around you. And when you learn how to quiet things down, you can really tap in more to your psychic abilities, if you will. So if you're a good listener, you're going to work on your clairaudience. If you see things in detail all the time, like I have a client who is just amazing and can stare at you for 20 seconds, turn around and name every single thing on you. And I'm like, how did you do that? Because he's really good at his clairvoyance. That means seeing. So if he's very detailed, if he practiced enough and he said, I want to open up my clairvoyance, then he would go in that direction. How that works with your intuition is when you are getting messages, they will come through your hearing, your seeing, your sensing, your knowing, and they will help assist you in what direction you want to go in or what direction you should take. What stops us from using our intuition is our mind. It's our ego. It's saying, you know what, I really don't want to leave that job because of the job security I have, or the finances, or the insurance, or whatever it may be. Our ego is the one that kind of puts us back in our place so that we're on solid ground, where our intuition doesn't really care about this stuff. Our intuition is like, no, you would be so happy, doing something else. I don't know, making birthday parties for a living, or going to take care of horses for a living, whatever it may be. And then you logically go, well, how would I make money? How would I support my family doing this? Yada, yada, yada. So our ego kind of talks us out of what our intuition is talking us into. The more you surrender, that's the biggest one, and allow the universe to show you the direction to go in, the easier it is for your intuition to kind of shine through. It will say, okay, you know what? I really think that it's time for you to make a change. Even with my business, I've done this since 2012. And all of a sudden I felt this shift to teach. And I'm like, you want me to teach now? Am I finished learning? Well, no, I'm still learning along the way. But if I hold on to, learning and doing each session, I'm not giving myself the opportunity to grow of what my soul wants to be and where it wants to be. So one of the ways that you can do this without looking psychic is practicing your psychic skills, right? You can do that in every situation, everyday conversation. If you're clairvoyant, you want to spend time really getting down the details. So when I opened up my clairvoyance, I was driving. I was actually hit by a car. I was at a red light and a car came behind me, hit me, pushed me onto the next lane, and then he drove off. And from that moment, I decided that I was going to remember license plates so that I could figure out something if I needed it. And as I would drive from then on, I would go, okay, LC7256, whatever it is. And it would always be imprinted in my head. And the more I did that, I could visually see the license plate. I would test myself all the time. I would sit at the light, close my eyes for a second, and then I could see it going across. And as I'm practicing in the real world, the physical world, it actually increased and opened up my spiritual abilities. So that's clairvoyance. Clairaudience we talked about, which is listening. So as people talk, you really want to listen to other people. Not just I'm a good listener, you want to know, I hear the sound next to you. I hear a sound a little bit further out, a little bit further out, a little bit further out. When you listen to music, you can identify all of the different sounds and instruments within a song. That also helps improve your clairaudience. It sounds like a voice that is inside your head most of the time, to improve it. So you can hear your spirit guides, you can hear your higher self through clairaudience. Then you have the feeling one, which I don't know what that is. Clairsentience, right? Where you feel other people's emotions. Like Patty just smiled and I happened to see her, and her smile made me feel good because we're exchanging energy on a feeling kind of level. So when you're around other people, you can like tune into them and go, how are they feeling today? What's going on in their world? The best way to open up your spiritual gifts is to ask like open questions all the time. Don't keep it narrow-minded and closed. You know, if this person was going to tell me something, what would they say? If this person could share with me how they're feeling, how would I feel? So when I'm giving a session and I'm scanning somebody, all of a sudden I start to cry and I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I'm tapping into your heart chakra and you're holding on to something crazy. Right? So then I'm like grabbing tissues, and it's because I'm feeling their emotions. This is part of being human, actually. Scott would appreciate this. There is it neurons in your head, in your brain, mirror neurons, which reflect upon each other. This is a scientific thing that proves that we are reading each other on an energetic field. Yes. Yes, Amber, that's right.
Yes, Amber, that's right.
Which
And
is
sometimes those neurons short out.
interesting. So that's kind of like the scientific way of why our psychic skills work and how to like, you know, tune into them and make them work a little bit better. I also have the gift of feeling, right? So if I'm touching something, I can read it with my hand, and you can do that as well. I actually encourage everybody to try it. You can pick something metal, like a metal object, and I usually have one. I do. I have this girl in my classes when we're doing like psychic work to hold on to it. And I say, go ahead, tell me what you are feeling. What does this energy feel like? So once you get down which psychic like gift you have, don't try to open up something that you are not good at. Like if you're not good with clairvoyance, do not spend all of your time working on clairvoyance because it's popular. I want you to work on what works for you, like naturally, because we all have a gift naturally. And when you improve your natural gift, then all the other ones seem to open up around it. I used to think that clairvoyance was, you know, the thing to do because everybody talked about it. Do you see dead people? How does that work for you? So I tried really hard to open my clairvoyance. And after I got it open, I was like, oh my goodness, I see things and I have no idea what they mean. Like, I would see an object or a person and somebody would verify, yes, that's my grandmother. And I'm like, great. What message does she have? I have no clue. I haven't got that far. I just see an image. So then after you keep practicing with this, all of your other skills open up, like your listening or your clairaudience or whatever it may be, the knowing, so that you receive messages as well. So if you want to practice with your psychic skills, that's one way to set in with your intuition. Another way is by a pendulum. And I probably don't have mine because I didn't think about it. But a pendulum, you know, hold on. I probably don't. I have bought 6 this month and somehow I always lose them. Hold on. Oh yeah, good. 6. I bought 6 this month and I seem to lose them everywhere. But this is what a pendulum looks like. And what it's doing, yes, it is. It's listening to your higher self. So you can program it to work with your higher self. And you ask questions. Show me a yes. My yes is always a circle. Show me a no. My no goes back and forth. Show me an I don't know. Thank you. My I don't know goes in reverse. And it's different with whatever pendulum you use. So you can practice with a pendulum, right? If you're asking your higher self a question, should I change jobs? Should I go in this direction? Whatever it may be. And you can hold it. Always put your elbow down on the table to give it leverage, and you hold it just by your 2 fingers, and then you can ask questions. Here's the trick about intuition. You have to trust yourself. So the first thing that's given to you, you go with it. Because what do we do in our heads? Well, that can't be true. That's not right. Maybe I should ask again. That's my favorite. You'll get an answer and go, I'm not sure. Let me ask again. Let me ask again. So go with the first one. And the more you're working with your intuition, the stronger it becomes. Then you'll know, no, that's definite yes, or that's a no. The other kind of pendulum that you can use is the body pendulum. So the body pendulum, I can demonstrate for you. You're gonna, oops, I forgot to just put a table in my room. New table. Joanna knows, she was just here. Okay, so can you guys see me? Yes, okay.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. So if you're standing still, you have your arms down and your eyes are shut, and you are natural, right? And you say, my name is Amber. You say your name. And when you say your name, your body will naturally go to one side. And then you come back to center, and you can say, my name is Anya. Anyan. And my body goes forward, okay? So when it goes forward, that's a no. That's not accurate, it's a no. When my body goes to the left, it's a yes. It's different for everybody. But when you're asking your intuition, you're really looking in yourself to find higher guidance. You're turning it over, you're releasing, you're surrendering, and you're saying, okay, show me the answer. I don't know. I don't know the answer. You're going to have to show me. And your body will move one way or the other. It's a yes goes one way, no is the other way. I've seen people try this out with food. They'll hold on to it and say, is this the right food for me? No. Yes, right? So I was in the grocery store, and I would always take out my pendulum and go up to any kind of food. Is this in my highest good to eat? Okay, put that in the cart. Is this in my highest good to eat? No, that can't go. And my husband's like, Amber, you are the most embarrassing person I have ever seen. And I'm like, it's okay, just walk away from me. Just walk away, you'll be fine. I should mention that him and I are night and day. So then I went out to a restaurant one day, and my mom's like, you're bringing your pendulum out and a menu? And I was like, I'm trying to understand my intuition. I got to get it down, Mom. And so anyhow, I put it away that day. But when we went out again, she brought out her pendulum, and I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm trying to understand myself. And I was like, yeah, I get it. So if you don't want to look obvious with your pendulum, then you can just use your body and stand still and allow it to sway in certain ways. The other way that you can do it is using cards. So if you like to touch things, right, or if you're a healer, or if you want to have information, they make tons of oracle cards, different types that you can ask questions to your higher self, to, the universe, the highest good of all. I need to know, what should I do? I'm stuck right now. What is this? And I have about 30 of them behind me, and they all do different things. So if I want purpose cards or angel cards or animal cards, past life cards, soul lessons. So know that there's tons of different types out there that you can purchase and pull out a card for that. So the first thing you have to do is learn what skill is your skill. Again, don't try to go for something that you're not. Do something that you already are, because that's what's going to help you grow and become more in tuned with yourself faster. Okay. Second thing, that meditation. Y'all, I am not a fan of meditation. Sometimes I really am, and I can get into it. And other times I'm like, I have to go meditate again. So what I find is that you're trying to break the silence down in your head so that you're allowing information to come through. So if I'm meditating, and that could be through YouTube and putting on, like music or something like that. Oh, sorry. My screen's only halfway lit. Did you just write a question? No? Okay. Sorry. Okay, let's go back. If you have a question, I totally want to tell you this. Please write it in the chat to the side, and that way I can go over anything that you may have. Or if you want me to slow down or say something again, just write me in the chat. Okay? Do you guys see that down at the bottom? Okay, perfect. So back to the meditation and being quiet. I like to meditate when I'm in the shower. That is the best place for me. It's like my spiritual place of all places. One, because water is very cleansing. I can ignore everything around me. I'm not being distracted by anything. Sometimes I'm going over my day. The majority of the time, I'm like blasting myself with the violet flame in the shower, and I'm clearing out my aura, and I'm meditating, and I'm getting all ready, and then, you go on with your day. So my meditation isn't, sitting down on the ground with my hands up in the air, chanting I can't flow in that. It's not easy for me. Another way is when I'm blow drying my hair. If you're doing an activity that's tedious or that you do all the time, you naturally flow into this meditation space. Think about when you are driving and you miss your exit. It's because you're meditating. You hit that area that you're like on autopilot and you just go. Those are the moments when information is allowed to come in. Next month, we're going to talk to our spirit guides. And while we're doing that, I'm going to show you better ways of how to receive information and how to clearly hear and understand information through your guides' communication. So meditation is finding an empty space in your head. It's just closing out this chatter just for a second. You can do YouTube channels and do a guided meditation. You can listen to I like listening to music sometimes, or you can even do an activity. So don't make you think that you have to put on your phone 5-minute timer and yell at yourself because you have a thought every 2 seconds. You don't always have to do that, okay? You just want to allow some information to come through, and that's why we get quiet. This becomes a very personal experience for everybody. So it's not like, you just pick a psychic skill. I have to do clairvoyance, or I have to sit down for 5 minutes or 10 minutes every day and meditate. I have to do this. It's a very, very personal experience. So when you're tuning into your intuition, you're learning your yes, you're learning your no. There's a meditation or a visualization that you can do that if you get really quiet, right, and you get centered and you close your eyes and you ask yourself a question, is it in my highest good? Don't ever say, should I? Is it in my highest good to leave a job? Is it in my highest good to do X, Y, Z? And if you see a color, like a green light up, that's your yes. And if you see red light up, that's your no. Okay, so that's another way of how to use your intuition if you're clairvoyant. Some people get a feeling within their stomach, wherever it may be in their body. If it's a no, you may feel tightness, like I can't move. And if it's a yes, you're going to feel, joyful and happy and more free flowing than a no. No's are very constricted. No's are very, I can't do this. They're tight in your body. So again, go with whatever. Oh, thank you. Can you hear me now? Sorry. Go with whatever. I think it's because of my fan too. Let me turn it off. Hold on. Oh, sorry, there's a million buttons. Is that better? It could be my fan too, because my fan was on, keeping my feet warm. All right. So if you can't hear me anymore, like if it gets low again, just tell me and I'll turn up my own volume and just like scream. I'm really good at it. So you want to tune into yourself and ask yourself questions all throughout the day. Is it in my highest good to go to Panera for lunch versus is it in my highest good to go have pizza for lunch? Is it in my highest good to make a left? Is it in my highest good to make a right? And I like to test out my intuition. Like one day I was driving and I knew that I should go right, but I didn't want to go right. I wanted to go left because I like the scenery. And I started to have this fight with my intuition. And I heard it again, go right. And I was like, nah. So I made a left. And I started driving down, and there was an accident, and I had to turn around and go back and make a right. And I was like, oh, Amber, you should have listened to yourself. But that's how it works. Like, the better you get at it, the more experienced you're going to be, and you're not going to ask outward for questions. Like, you're not going to look for other people to give you validation or to know what you should do or what's a good option for you to take. You're going to look inward and say, well, I know this for sure. So I have like all these medicine options. I have an autoimmune disease, and I have all these medicine options to look over. And they're like, here you go. You can take any one of these. And I was like, oh, that's nice. And I sat down with every single one and went, which one is in alignment with me? Is any of them in alignment with me? That's the other thing. We like close in ourselves options. The universe doesn't just see an option. It doesn't see one option or two options. There are many options. So just because you can't see it doesn't mean that that's the way to go or the direction to go in. You always go to your highest self. Hey, higher self, how you doing? I need to know, is this in my highest good, or should I be doing something else? Always keep that option available to you, because there might be something that you can't see. You know, you might be looking at two jobs. Should I take this job or this job? But then this job is the one that is coming from the universe that's even better. So whenever you are tuning in, always have the other option as well. Okay. So what I want to do, I have 2 exercises I'd like to take you guys through on how to tune in to your intuition. And I'm going to show you some people. Let's do this one first. All right. You guys, you roughly know your skills that you're good at, right? Your intuitive skills, you may not, and that's quite all right. Make sure you have pen, make sure you have paper. Scott, mentally write it down like a memo. And I'm going to show you a picture, and I want you just to write down what your intuition says, okay? And I want you to be kind of judgy. We're always talking about not judging other people, but your intuition will just naturally guide you and naturally help you so that you can come in alignment. So let's look. Let's do this one. Guys, see this picture well? So I want you to start writing down on a piece of paper anything that you get about this person. Would you trust this person? She a good person? She a bad person? Do you like her? Would you want to be friends with her? Why or why not? Is she married? If so, does she have children? What do you think her life was like? So she is famous, or else I wouldn't have a picture of her. So what made her famous? What is she known for? Okay. Same person, different picture. Patty, I love your face. Do you still like her? Or you don't like her? What do you think her name is? What did she do for a living? Okay. Now, can you type your answers into the chat? This isn't about being wrong. It's not about being right. See the chat over to the side. And I want you to really think about, as you were looking at the picture, how did you receive the information? Did you receive it by feeling, by knowing? Like, when I look at people, I look at their aura because I can see colors. So I know exactly their occupation by looking at colors. So that's kind of like clairvoyance, right? What did you sense? And see if you guys are typing. Scott, feel free to join in. Write down yours. Patty says a professor. Yes, trust, no nonsense. Oops, I just saged my picture. I just saged her. Is that a coincidence? Quirky humor, doesn't play around, not married, but had a difficult life and struggles. Amelia Earnhardt. Compass says she loves to garden. She is trusted and had a good life, had dementia when older, is an author, and maybe her name is Anna. Joanna says, picture 1, received by feelings and mental pictures. She seems accomplished, yet a hard life. Got things done, not a bad person, was married, maybe widowed. Picture 2, maybe her name is Eleanor, in education or science. Kim says, old picture, I would trust her. She is a good person. I like her. Yes, I'd be friends with her because she seems fun and I think she's widowed and she has children and grandchildren. I think her life was hard but filled with love. I think she did something with flying but got a sense of outdoors like farming. Very good. Young picture. Amelia, she did modeling or acting. I don't like her as a young person. I do trust her. She can help. Husband died. Teacher, professional, chemical engineering, Sandra. So what's really cool about this is that you all said, I want to say that she had a difficult life, right? We're pretty much in agreement with that. I loved whoever said gardening. That was spot on. What's the other thing I want to look at? So Joanna got it from feeling and mental pictures, whatever mental pictures. Joanna's very clairvoyant. So she got her information from visually seeing. So how did you all get your information? How did you receive it? How did you know it? From thoughts, Patty said, just thoughts that come in. Good. See, that's what we want to recognize is your primary way to tap into your intuition. Scott said visual inside and thoughts. I heard it. I love it. From Jody. Can I say your name, Jody? I love it. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, good. I wasn't sure. So what I know from her is that when I looked at this picture and this picture, they're like two different people, right? Which is kind of unique. Her name is Vida West. She is a poet, and I believe somebody said poet as well. She wrote novels. That's what she's known for. And she's also a garden designer. And I suppose that's what that was behind there. So she's known for her gender and sexuality, which not many of you picked up on. But that, for me, that was like the first thing I saw was sexuality. Like sexuality was important, and back then they didn't really talk about sexuality. And her literacy contributions. She was married to Harold and they had 2 kids, but they had a very open relationship, which meant that she was also with a lot of childhood friends that are females. And I wanted to know how she died. Do we go over how she died? This picture right here helped me narrow in on it. If you know your chakras, go up the chakras and kind of pinpoint which chakra you feel most drawn to. And you can tell from that way. Like I always do a scan of the body to find out. If there was a chakra, and you always ask open questions, right? If there was a chakra that was the cause of her death, which one would it be? You might feel like zoning into one of them, or you might feel pulled towards it, or there's a body part that you're like, oh, that really sticks out to me. Third eye, throat. Okay, so she died from abdominal cancer. Very good. So Joanna, how did you get that? Right? When you're
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
In the picture, that area on her body just looks a little off. It doesn't look like it's smoothly throughout her body. It looks like there's something off in that area.
Okay.
It called to my my eye. So
Mine too. And I was like, what's wrong with that? And to be honest with you, like abdominal cancer never crossed my mind in a million years. I just kept looking at it and go, oh, I feel, like I got punched in my stomach. Like there's something up right here. And that's what I wrote down. I also had children, which is interesting because I couldn't find any information on her with children. Her aura, which we're also going to talk about next month, is seeing auras, is blue. So blue is always like a writer, poet kind of thing. Hard finding peace with herself. I wrote down trans because that's what I saw. And I also got like conquered, like put a lot of effort into life and conquered something, like a personal achievement. Do I like her? Yeah, I like her. I don't see anything wrong with her. I see a human person. All right. So now we're going to do one more because now you guys are like tuned up and you kind of get this, right? So here is dun, 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 the other one. And while you guys are turning down, I'm just going to turn my heater on so I can stop shaking, and then I'll turn off. Freezing. All right. What type of person is she? Do you like her? Do you trust her? What do you think her emotional life is like? Is she married? Widowed? Single? What does she do for an occupation? What kind of things happen to her? You're creating a whole story around this lady. By your thoughts, by your feelings, by your knowing. And that's your intuition speaking. So we want to give your intuition a voice. Okay. There she is again. Do you still like her? You know, when you walk up to people on the street and you're like, oh, you're reading their vibes, right? That's your intuition speaking, this understanding. You're reading their vibration. So if you saw her walking on the street, where would she be? Oh, what country is she in? How's that one? Scott says, I don't trust her. I don't like her. Not married, widow, office work, child died. Kim says, I don't trust her, but she looks fun. Like she would be the life of the party. I don't think she really connects with people. Single actress. She had a rough childhood, maybe abused. Picture number 2. I like her less. She looks British and she is guarded. Fantastic. Joanna says, I don't know what this says. Overcompensation. Is there a P in there? Extroverted, hiding pain, single, maybe a real estate agent, masculine. Patty says, I don't trust, cover up, secretive, rough life, harsh, England. Overcompensating. Oh, thank you. Well, no, sometimes I don't know big words. So I was like, she just threw one out there that I don't know. It's all good. All right. Really? Y'all don't like her? She has trouble trusting herself, is a painter, and has an addiction. Jody. My first word that I picked up, I don't know if you saw that, is addiction, because that's exactly what I saw when I looked at her. I was like, ooh, we have an addiction going on here. Can you guys see that now? Maybe. All right. So she's a neat person. Not really. Her name, oh, what do you think her name is? Try to do a letter. If you can't get the name, what letter? I turned off my heater. C. D. P. Karen, no clue. Okay. So her name is Dolores Price, and she worked for the Irish Republican Army as a terrorist. So if you got the impression that you don't like her, I understand that. She helped the British collaborators drive to their place of execution. So she would pick up people and drive them before they were executed. In 1973, she was also part of the Old Bailey bombing in London with her sister. So she is not a person to mess with. She's pretty crazy. She's working for the government, Republican Party, trying to smuggle in people, trying to get rid of people. So when somebody said she's the life of the party, she probably was. Like, that's how I see her going out in this kind of like, you know, like a play, you know, I'm here and I'm going to take you away, or I'm going to help you. I think that she was probably had a very actress kind of side to her. And then again, she would also reel them in. So she was married and she had 2 sons. She divorced, and she was found dead in Belfast from a prescription overdose. So medicine, she became very addicted to prescriptions and medicine, because after she was part of the bombing, she was put into jail for her part. And she didn't want to be in the one jail. So she started to not take food, and she went 203 days without eating. Think about that. 203 days. So she would always have fluids in her, but she wouldn't eat so that she could change jails. And upon this, she became very anorexic, and she became dependent upon medicines and pills. And when she was released, that's how she died. Strangely enough, I wrote down traveler. Lost mom was really sad. Huge sun connection in her aura. It's like this really murky green. And when you're coming from your heart chakra, you have a vibrant, beautiful green color when you are pure, when you know exactly what you want, when you're coming from a good place. And people who have this really murky, ugly color, their thoughts are lower vibrational. But I wrote that she was killed. And I think that is so fascinating because I'm like, as I was reading, I was like, no, she didn't do overdose. Oh my God, that can't be right. She was dead. Like somebody killed her. And I'm going through all of the literature and I'm going to find other literature because I'm like, no, she was killed. I know this. So it's pretty interesting. So you're going to be able to pull apart this information easier the more that you tune in. Joanna is like on the ball tonight, especially with starts with the name D, right? So how do you know that? How would you know a person's name? You can go through the alphabet and whatever highlights or feels funny or feels off, then you go, oh, you know what? That's my intuition letting me know that it's this letter, right? It's the letter D, or maybe it's the letter, whatever it may be. So ask yourself, always keep these open-ended questions. You're not narrowing in. If this person could talk to me, what would she say? If this person could give me information, what would it be? When you ask like these really, should I stay in this job? Should I leave this job? You're not giving the universe more room to speak to you. So you always want to make sure that your questions are in the highest good and that they have room for other areas besides what you just see. Patty says, when you see her aura, is that from her picture? Yes. So when I am, black and white seems to be better for me for whatever reason. This one showed up really well. So when I'm actually looking at her, when I see auras, I look at the forehead, and as I stare there for so long, all of a sudden I'll see color over here. Okay, so when I'm staring at the color, this blue lit up for me. And whenever I see blue in an aura, that's for writers and speakers. So stare at her forehead, and then you kind of just drift off, and you allowed color to go around. Are you seeing anything? I'm so sorry, I'm shaking. But you know, it's like you might not be able to just see it. You might have that knowing of it, being like, you know what, her aura is blue, or you might have the sensing of it. So it's not always, if that's not your strongest point, then you can always find the information a different way. You know what I mean? Like it could just be your knowing or your thoughts that popped into your head. So that's why you always want to make your strongest psychic ability go first. And then as you like perfect that one, then the rest of it opens up. I'm telling you, I worked so hard at that clairvoyance and I finally got it open. And then I'm like, oh my God, I don't have any information. I'm looking at a purple candle. What does that mean to me? Okay. But if I hear it and people are speaking to me, then I get it better. Tarot cards. I love using tarot cards. And we had a conversation about this earlier because if I need to get a message across, I have looked at so many tarot cards that I can remember their meaning, and I will see in my third eye a tarot card. And I go, oh, you know what? She's, like not doing what she needs to do, or she's procrastinating, or she's not doing her work. And I can tell that because I visually see and have practiced with so many tarot cards. Does that make sense? So that's another way to grab a hold of the information. But you're not going to be able to do any of that unless you know your intuition and you let it guide you. So your strongest point, Patty, is your thoughts. So when your thoughts start awesome, like coming into your head, that's what you're trying to make room for. Was that my thought? Was that somebody else's thought? I love when I'm eating dinner and all of a sudden my husband says something and I'm like, was he thinking that or was I thinking that? Did I like spill that over to him or did he do that to me? You know, or I start singing a song and he goes, Amber, I just had that song in my head. How did you know that? And I go, because I'm psychic, right? Because, you know, he's so not into this stuff and it just bothers him. So I always like really go after him a little bit harder. But we're all telepathic. So if you are picking up other people's thoughts, practice it. What do I think Jody's thinking right now? And I keep opening to that. What do I think Patty's thinking right now? If I was Patty, what would I be thinking about? right? I'm sorry, I like just dove in for a second. My bad. So you're just going to ask, right? And be open to it. Scott says, I hear voices, but they're mumbled. So you know what? You tell them to turn up their volume. There's no like limitation. And that's like the best thing about the psychic classes is that if you have a problem or if there's a situation I can't hear, I don't understand, then you can ask them to speak louder. You can make your own voice. Like my higher self sounds like me in my head, but when somebody else is talking to me, like a spirit guide or like a loved one, it comes in it differently. I hear it differently in my voice, like in my head, not in my voice, but in my head. And I go, oh, I can tell the difference. Because if I can't, then I get all confused. Was that me or was that not me? Who said that? So just ask them, turn up the volume. When I was on a live earlier today, somebody was speaking German. And I went like, there's like a lot of shish sounds in it. And I was like, oh, she's German. I have no idea what I was saying or how that was coming across because she didn't speak English. And sometimes they can show you in a, like a picture, but you know, other times they can't. So it depends on your skill, what you're going to open and practicing with it. Scott hears my thoughts in his head sometimes. It's rare, but it happens. Yes, it really does. So as a partner, even if you guys have somebody, you can sit across from them and practice. My children and I do this. What shape am I thinking? What number am I thinking? It helps improve the telepathy between you all. What color, what animal, whatever it may be. You can practice it, you know, with friends, with coworkers. If I was my boss right now, what would my boss be thinking? I better sit here a little bit more and work, right? But you want to kind of like understand where they're at and hear their thoughts so that you can gauge your direction and you can kind of like maneuver that way. If your boss is going to go out for lunch, I just got dinged, he's going out for lunch in 10 minutes. Fantastic. Then you can go out for lunch. You know what I mean? Like you can pick up on those things. So, all right. I don't see any other questions. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. So this month is all about getting in touch with your intuition. That's the first step. Finding out which ability is best for you. Surrender, release, let go. That means trusting yourself. What? The hardest thing to do. And when we don't trust ourselves, again, like leaving a job, leaving a relationship, leaving a situation, it comes in harder and harder and harder until we finally get the message that we have to let go or we have to release, right? And go, okay, I surrender. Go ahead, intuition. Tell me what's next. Okay. Always be open to change. That's what we have problems with. Going, oh, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something else. That's part of life. And that's your soul like telling you, hey, there's something new happening for you. It's a new opportunity coming up. So the more you are listening to your inner voice, the more you allow these doors to open, these opportunities to come in, people to come in, relationships to come in. So it all starts with you on the inside. All right. So that is the workshop for tonight. We are exactly at an hour, which is fantastic. If you guys ever have any questions about opening your intuition, you know how to get a hold of me. And I also have another video coming out this Friday. It was 4 weeks for 4 videos. Okay. And Kim, I have to write you an email and I will do that right when we're off. Fantastic. All right. The video is going to be in the replay. So I encourage you still practice, practice, practice with each other, practice using your skills all the time. You are so welcome. And yeah, that's it. All right. I'll see you guys later. You're so welcome. All right. Have a great night. Bye.